Welcome to Lesson 7 of Week 10. Appendices extend your proposal with supporting materials that strengthen your case without consuming main narrative space. This lesson focuses on appendices strategy, helping you decide what to include and what to leave out. Appendices serve important functions when used appropriately. Letters of support demonstrate community buy-in. Biosketches document team qualifications. Data collection instruments show your evaluation is concrete. Logic models visualize your theory of change. These materials provide evidence and detail that support your main narrative. However, appendices also present challenges. Some reviewers skip them entirely. Some funders restrict what can be included. Some applicants use appendices to circumvent page limits inappropriately. Strategic decisions about appendix content require understanding these dynamics. This lesson will help you understand the proper function of appendices, identify materials that strengthen proposals when included, recognize materials that waste space or violate rules, and follow NOFO requirements precisely regarding appendix content. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to compile appendices that support your proposal effectively. Understanding the purpose of appendices helps you use them appropriately. Appendices serve several distinct functions. Support function means appendices provide evidence that strengthens your main narrative. When you claim strong partnerships, letters of support provide evidence. When you claim an experienced team, biosketches document qualifications. Appendices back up narrative claims with supporting materials. Space efficiency allows presenting detail that would consume too much narrative space. A detailed staffing chart, a complete logic model, or data collection instruments might take pages to present in your narrative. Placing them in appendices preserves narrative space for argumentation. Reference materials include items reviewers may want to examine for additional detail. Resumes, organizational descriptions, or detailed timelines provide information some reviewers want to see, but that not everyone needs in the main narrative. Appendices make this information available without requiring all readers to work through it. Verification documents claims made in your proposal. When you assert you have community support, letters demonstrate it. When you claim relevant experience, documentation proves it. Appendices transform assertions into documented facts. Certain materials commonly appear in grant appendices. Understanding these standard inclusions helps you assemble appropriate supporting materials. Letters of support demonstrate partnerships and community buy-in. Letters from partner organizations, community stakeholders, and key collaborators show that others support your project. Strong letters are specific to your project, not generic endorsements. Biosketches and resumes document team qualifications. Required formats like NIH biosketches or NSF biographical sketches present standardized qualification information. These materials verify that your team has the expertise you claim in your narrative. Data collection instruments like survey forms, interview protocols, or assessment tools show your evaluation plan is concrete. Including actual instruments demonstrates you have thought through measurement specifically, not just abstractly. Reviewers can evaluate whether your tools are appropriate. Organizational information provides context about the applicant institution. Organizational charts, brief histories, or financial statements may demonstrate capacity to manage grants. The appropriate amount of organizational information varies by funder and project type. Deciding what to include in appendices requires balancing various considerations. Several principles guide inclusion decisions. Required items must appear because everything the NOFO specifies is mandatory. If the funder requires letters of support, biosketches, and a logic model in appendices, include exactly those items. Non-compliance with requirements can result in rejection. Evidence for claims strengthens your proposal by documenting assertions. If your narrative claims extensive community partnerships, include letters demonstrating those partnerships. If you claim a uniquely qualified team, include materials that prove those qualifications. Evidence transforms claims into demonstrated facts. Quality materials reflect positively on your proposal. Only include materials that enhance your application. A poorly written letter of support or a sloppy biosketch hurts more than it helps. Every appendix item should demonstrate professionalism and preparation. Relevant detail provides information reviewers may want that exceeds narrative scope. Some reviewers want to examine data collection instruments closely. Others want detailed organizational information. Appendices make this detail available for those who want it without burdening all readers. Knowing what to exclude from appendices is as important as knowing what to include. Several categories of material should typically be left out. Marketing materials like promotional brochures, glossy publications, or organizational marketing content do not belong in grant appendices. These materials serve marketing purposes, not evidence purposes. Reviewers are evaluating your project, not considering purchasing your services. Redundant information that repeats narrative content wastes appendix space. If you have already explained something fully in your narrative, do not include additional materials that say the same thing. Appendices should complement, not duplicate, your main proposal. Prohibited items that the NOFO specifically disallows will result in non-compliance if included. Some funders restrict appendix content carefully. Some prohibit any materials not explicitly allowed. Check your NOFO requirements and follow them precisely. Low-quality materials that reflect poorly on your proposal should be excluded. A generic letter of support that could have been written for any project, a biosketch with errors, or unprofessional organizational materials undermine rather than support your case. If a material is not good, leave it out. Letters of support deserve special attention because they are common appendix materials that vary dramatically in quality. Understanding what makes letters effective helps you solicit and select strong ones. The purpose of support letters is demonstrating partnerships and community backing. Strong letters show that relevant stakeholders understand and endorse your project. They provide evidence that your proposed work has community support and partnership commitment. Quality markers in strong letters include specificity about your project, focus on the particular partnership or contribution described, and authorship by someone knowledgeable about both your project and the letter writer's organization. Strong letters say something meaningful about this specific project. Warning signs in weak letters include generic language that could apply to any project, form letter feel, suggesting the writer did not engage seriously, and lack of specificity about what support the writer will actually provide. These letters add little value and may suggest superficial partnerships. Quantity versus quality matters because a few strong letters beat many weak ones. 3 letters from deeply engaged partners who describe specific contributions are more valuable than 10 generic endorsements. Focus on obtaining high-quality letters rather than maximizing number. Biosketches and curriculum vitae document team qualifications. Understanding how to prepare these materials strengthens your appendices. Format requirements must be followed exactly when funders specify particular formats. NIH biosketches, NSF biographical sketches, and other standardized formats have specific structures and content requirements. Using the wrong format or omitting required elements violates compliance requirements. Relevance focus means emphasizing qualifications relevant to this particular project. A biosketch highlighting publications in the project's content area is more valuable than one listing publications in unrelated fields. Tailor biographical information to demonstrate relevant expertise. Required elements specified by the funder must be included. Some biosketches require specific sections like professional preparation, appointments, or selected publications. Some require personal statements describing relevant experience. Include every required element in the required format. Length limits apply to biographical materials as they do to other proposal components. If biosketches are limited to 2 pages, provide exactly that. Exceeding page limits on supporting materials is as problematic as exceeding limits on narrative sections. Data collection instruments in appendices show your evaluation plan is concrete. Including these materials demonstrates preparation while inviting scrutiny. Value added comes from showing your evaluation plan is concrete rather than abstract. Including actual survey questions, interview protocols, or assessment tools demonstrates you have thought through measurement specifically. Reviewers can see exactly how you plan to collect data. Reviewer scrutiny means included instruments may be evaluated for appropriateness. If your survey questions seem poorly designed or your protocols inappropriate, This reflects negatively on your proposal. Only include instruments you are confident will withstand examination. Draft status is acceptable because instruments can be preliminary versions with plans for refinement. You can note that instruments will be piloted and revised before full implementation. Including draft instruments is better than including none, as long as you acknowledge their developmental status. Space consideration matters because full instruments may consume significant appendix space. Consider whether complete instruments or representative samples better serve your purposes. Some funders limit appendix space, requiring selectivity about what instrument materials to include. NOFO requirements govern what your appendices may contain. Following these requirements precisely is essential. Explicit permissions in some NOFOs list what may be included in appendices. If the NOFO says appendices may contain letters of support, biosketches, and logic models, include only those items. Items not on the permitted list may not be allowed even if useful. Explicit prohibitions in some NOFOs list what may not be included. If the NOFO says appendices may not contain additional narrative or may not include letters from federal agencies, respect those prohibitions. Including prohibited materials violates compliance requirements. Page limits often apply to appendices. If the NOFO specifies a maximum of 20 pages for appendices, respect that limit. Appendix page limits may be additional to or part of overall page limits depending on the funder. Consequences of violating appendix requirements may include non-review of your application or removal of non-compliant materials. Some agencies physically remove appendix pages that exceed limits. Some reject applications with prohibited content. Understanding potential consequences motivates careful compliance. Proper organization and labeling make appendices accessible and useful. Attention to these details demonstrates professionalism. Clear labels ensure each appendix item is clearly identified. Use labels like Appendix A, Letters of Support, Appendix B, Biosketches, or similar identifiers. Reviewers should be able to locate specific materials without hunting through unlabeled pages. Logical order arranges materials in a sequence that makes sense. You might organize by proposal section, by importance, or by type of material. Whatever order you choose, it should be logical and help reviewers navigate the appendices efficiently. Table of contents for appendices with multiple items helps reviewers find what they need. A brief list showing what is included and where each item begins improves navigation. For simple appendices, this may be unnecessary, but for complex ones, it helps. Cross-reference between narrative and appendices connects your main proposal to supporting materials. When you mention team qualifications in your narrative, you might note see biosketches in Appendix B. These references help reviewers find relevant supporting materials and show that your appendices directly support your narrative. Understanding reviewer behavior regarding appendices helps you use them appropriately. Reviewers vary in how they engage with appendix materials. Variable attention means some reviewers read appendices carefully while others skip them entirely. You cannot count on all reviewers examining your appendix materials closely. This variability affects what you can rely on appendices to accomplish. Reference function means reviewers may consult appendices when questions arise during reading. If your narrative claims strong partnerships, a skeptical reviewer might check letters of support. If your narrative claims relevant expertise, a reviewer might examine biosketches. Appendices serve as reference for verification. Critical information belongs in narrative because you cannot rely on all reviewers reading appendices. If something is essential to your argument, put it in your main narrative. Do not hide key information in appendices hoping reviewers will find it. Assume some reviewers will evaluate you on narrative alone. Supporting role means appendices support but cannot substitute for strong narrative. Excellent appendix materials cannot rescue a weak proposal. The narrative must stand on its own merits. Appendices provide supplementary evidence and detail. Common appendix mistakes undermine proposal effectiveness. Recognizing these mistakes helps you avoid them. Circumventing limits by using appendices to exceed page limits inappropriately is a compliance violation. If the NOFO limits your narrative to 15 pages, you cannot effectively add more narrative by putting it in appendices. Reviewers and program staff recognize this tactic and penalize it. Weak letters that are generic or poorly written hurt more than they help. A letter saying, "We support this project," adds little value. A letter riddled with typos undermines confidence in your partnerships. Be selective about what letters you include and help letter writers understand what makes letters effective. Prohibited content that appears despite NOFO restrictions creates compliance problems. Some applicants include materials hoping no one will notice. This approach risks your entire application. Follow NOFO requirements precisely regarding what appendices may and may not contain. Missing requirements occur when required appendix materials are omitted. If the NOFO requires letters of support and you do not include them, your application may be rejected as incomplete. Verify all required materials are present before submission. Quality control for appendices ensures all included materials strengthen rather than weaken your proposal. Several checks should occur before submission. Review all materials by reading every item before including it. Do not assume letters of support or other materials are appropriate without examining them. Read everything to verify quality and appropriateness. Catch problems before reviewers do. Check accuracy by verifying names, dates, and claims are correct. If a letter references your project by the wrong name or includes incorrect information about your organization, correct it before inclusion. Accuracy errors undermine credibility. Professional appearance ensures all materials look polished. Consistent formatting, clean presentation, and professional quality should characterize all appendix materials. Sloppy materials in appendices create negative impressions just as sloppy narrative does. Compliance verification confirms all requirements are met. Check that all required materials are included, no prohibited materials appear, page limits are respected, and format requirements are followed. Compliance review should happen systematically before submission. Following best practices for appendices produces supporting materials that strengthen your proposal. These practices should guide your approach. Follow requirements because NOFO rules govern appendix content absolutely. What the funder permits include, what the funder prohibits exclude. When rules are unclear, interpret conservatively. Compliance is non-negotiable. Quality over quantity means including only materials that genuinely strengthen your proposal. A few excellent letters beat many weak ones. Professional biosketches beat hastily assembled CVs. Each item should add value. If including something does not help, do not include it. Organize clearly by labeling all materials, arranging them in logical order, and referencing them from your narrative. Reviewers should be able to find what they need. Good organization demonstrates attention to detail and consideration for readers. Support narrative by using appendices to evidence and extend your main narrative, not replace it. Critical information belongs in the proposal body. Appendices provide supporting documentation that verifies claims and adds detail for interested reviewers. They supplement, they do not substitute. Let us summarize the key points from this lesson on appendices strategy. Appendices support your narrative with evidence and detail. Letters of support demonstrate partnerships. Biosketches document qualifications. Data collection instruments show evaluation is concrete. These materials provide verification and extended information that strengthens your proposal without consuming narrative space. Inclusion decisions should favor required and quality materials while excluding weak or prohibited ones. Every appendix item should add value. Weak letters, redundant content, and marketing materials do not belong. Be selective about what you include, focusing on materials that genuinely strengthen your case. NOFO compliance regarding appendices must be precise. Explicit permissions and prohibitions, page limits, format requirements. These rules govern what your appendices may contain. Violations can result in rejection or removal of materials. Follow requirements exactly. In our next lesson, we examine the red team review process. Before submission, having outsiders evaluate your proposal simulates actual review and identifies weaknesses you can address. This quality assurance process significantly improves proposal competitiveness. Practice exercise. Review the appendix requirements in a funding announcement. List all required materials, all permitted optional materials, and all prohibited materials. Identify what you would include and why.